Hello everyone, this is the Dimension Stamps Project Club for September 2012. I've cut down my card. I'll give you the measurements. This is 20.5 centimetres by 14.3 centimetres. And this other A5 piece I've already cut down, and it measures 11 centimetres by 12.5 centimetres. The leftover bit of card we'll need to do a bit of stamping on. Okay, so first of all we're going to use the 11 by 12.5 centimetre piece of card. We're going to use our blue ink. I'm using the Big and Juicy Waterfall ink pad, and I'm also going to use an ink duster. This is from Inkalicious and it's a blending brush. As you can see, I use this one a lot, using the blue end. And what we want to do is put a light dusting of blue ink right across this piece of card. Now we want to try and keep it going in one direction, left to right. So, inking up. Don't worry if you get little bits of different colours in there, because the sea isn't all one colour. Keeping it going in all the same direction. Right now. Using the same ink, we're going to stamp the seaweed and coral right across the bottom. We're going to leave about a ½ centimetre gap at the bottom. Even though this ink pad's got blue and green on, it doesn't really matter for this. So leaving a little gap. And we can overlap this stamp. Just a little ribbon type edge there. Last one, like so. Before we do anything else, we need to clean our mat down. So now we're going to watercolour our seaweed and coral, and for this I'm using the Waterfall Big and Juicy and Ripe Persimmon Distress ink. I'm going to load up a bit of the green and red on an acrylic block, like so. Move that out of the way. Put a bit of that on there. Make sure my water brush isn't too wet, and pick up a bit of the ink. And there we have our finished background. So now I'm using some clear drying PVA glue, and what we need to do is glue right down to the bottom, but following the shale edge of the stamp. Don't need too much. Okay. Next we need to apply our sand. So I'm going to use a bit of paper, scrap paper for the background. And we'll just sprinkle the sand over the top. And then using your finger, just pat it in so that it adheres to the glue. Okay. And now we need to leave that to dry. If you find while it's drying that you have little gaps appearing, just dab a little bit more PVA in there, sprinkle a bit more sand on, and it'll fill any of those gaps in. Using our leftover piece of white card, we're going to stamp the seahorse, the crab and the fish using VersaFine ink, and we're going to heat emboss with some Detail Clear embossing powder. And we also need to stamp our little sentiment. Using Detail Clear embossing powder. Now you can either colour in first or cut out first, but when we cut out we need to leave a little white edge all around each of the images. I've cut out my images and I just want to give this sentiment a little bit of colour. So using our blending brush, just lightly dust it so we get a nice light sprinkling of blue. I want to give the sentiment a little blue border, so using the Big and Juicy, I'm just going to run the edge of the card along the blue in the pad. If you angle it slightly, you'll be able to see the blue a little bit better. If you can see that. See that edge? Do the other two. Like so. I'll leave that to dry and colour in the rest. We're now going to do the flourish on the top of our blue card. So we need the flourish, we need some Versamark ink pad, and what I like to do is put a pencil mark in the middle. So I'm going to work upside down, so my card is 14.3, so if I put a little pencil mark just in the middle, that'll help me to eyeball it using the little dots on the side. So first of all, I'm going to use the Versamark and ink up. Following my mark, just until the bubbles actually hit the side of the card and the other bubble is at the top of the card, which is now the bottom. Just like so. So it's these little dots I'm looking at. We'll do the other side. I'm going to turn it the other way, lining up as best you can. Like so. Put our detail clear embossing powder. I'm going to use a white Jelly Roll Sakura pen just to highlight little bits and pieces. I did all the little dots. So I've rounded the corners on my base card and on the blue card, so now we might as well attach that. I'm going to use double-sided tape. Just patting it down across the sand. And next we need our white Jelly Roll pen. Do some wavy lines, just randomly across the front. Next we're going to add our seahorse, crab and fish. Give them a little bit of a shape before we stick them on. I'm going to use silicone glue for this. And lastly, the sentiment. On the back of this I'm going to use some foam tape. And just in case I don't get it in the right place first time, add a little bit of glue so I can reposition it if necessary. And there's our finished card. Thank you. Bye.